Every great business, every powerful movement, every lasting empire starts with one thing: clarity, not just a random spark of genius, not a vague, I want to start something idea, but a clearly defined vision that becomes the filter for every decision, every hire, every product, and every strategy. Clarity of vision is the foundational discipline of anyone serious about building something that lasts. It's not fluffy, it's not optional, and if you're not ruthlessly committed to it, everything you build will eventually collapse under the weight of confusion. Clarity is more than just knowing what you want to do. It's knowing why you're doing it, who it's for, and where you're taking it. The mistake a lot of early stage entrepreneurs make is that they fall in love with an idea but never take the time to interrogate it. They assume clarity will come later. It doesn't. If anything, things get messier as you grow. If you're not clear when it's just you and a notebook, you definitely won't be clear when you're leading a team of 5, 50, or 500. So your job right now is to stop and get brutally honest about your vision. Not what sounds good, not what feels safe. What do you actually want to build? Your vision should be specific. I want to help people is not a vision. I want to build a digital platform that teaches women how to scale service businesses to 7 figures using proven systems. That's a vision. It's concrete. It's directional. It tells your team what they're building. It tells your audience what they can expect. Vague ideas create vague outcomes, but when you're specific, you give your business the gift of momentum. Your clarity becomes your engine. Clarity also gives you a filter. There will be 1,000 good opportunities that come your way. Podcast interviews, product ideas, partnerships. But not every opportunity is aligned. When you're clear on your vision, you stop being reactive and start being intentional. You can say no quickly. You can say yes confidently. You start moving with strategy instead of just hustle. Hustle is a tool, clarity is a compass, and clarity isn't just for you. It's for your team. If your team doesn't know what you're building or why it matters, they can't win. They'll get stuck, they'll burn out, they'll fill in the blanks with their own assumptions. That's how misalignment happens, and misalignment kills performance. You can't afford that. When you're building an empire, every person on your team needs to understand the destination. That way, they can take ownership of the journey. If your employees can't repeat your vision back to you in their own words, you haven't communicated it clearly enough. Say it again, simplify it, make it real. Now, clarity doesn't mean perfection. You're going to pivot, you're going to evolve, that's normal. But even pivots should be strategic, not reactionary, and that's what clarity gives you: the ability to change direction without losing your purpose. You can adapt without losing your core. You can grow without growing chaotic because your vision is the anchor. Let's be clear, if you're stuck right now, overwhelmed, not sure what your next step should be, it's probably not a strategy problem. It's a clarity problem. Go back to the vision. What are you building? Why does it matter? Who are you serving? What does success look like? If you can't answer those questions in one sentence, you're not ready to scale. You're guessing, and guessing is expensive. The great part is, clarity is a skill. It's not magic. It's not something you're born with. It's something you choose to prioritize. You sit down, turn off distractions, and write it out. You get feedback, you refine, and then you lead with it. Every meeting, every pitch, every training. Your clarity becomes the heartbeat of the company. And remember, clarity isn't something you write once and never revisit. It's something you protect and refine constantly. As the business grows, your vision should stay clear, but the language may evolve. That's okay. But it's your job to make sure the message doesn't get diluted. Because when clarity breaks down, confusion creeps in, and confusion is the enemy of execution. So start there, before the website, before the logo, before the product. Get clear, say it out loud, write it down. And then go build it. On purpose. Having a big dream is not enough. Everyone has ideas, everyone talks about vision, but turning that dream into something real, repeatable, and scalable, that's where most people get stuck. The bridge between the dream and the empire is execution, and execution only works when it's built on systems. You don't need more inspiration. You need to operationalize the dream. That means taking the abstract and making it tangible. It means building frameworks, setting targets, assigning ownership, and holding people accountable. Dreams don't work unless you do, but more importantly, unless your systems do. The first thing you have to understand is that every part of your business, every service, every meeting, every customer interaction needs a process behind it. If you're relying on memory, personality, or chance, you're setting yourself up to fail. What happens when you're not in the room? What happens when your top performer takes a week off? If your business can't function without you micromanaging every piece, you don't have a business. You have a job you created for yourself. Operationalizing the dream means you build something that can outlast your personal effort. Start by breaking down your vision into key functions. What are the core areas of your business that drive results? Think marketing, sales, operations, client delivery, finance, and people. Now, within each of those functions, identify the critical activities that must happen consistently. These are your non-negotiables. If you run a coaching business, for example, that might mean weekly content production, monthly workshops, lead tracking, client onboarding, and KPI reviews. Get crystal clear about what needs to happen, not just once, but weekly, monthly, quarterly, to move the business forward. Once you've mapped the activities, you assign ownership. No more we language, no more somebody should do this. If everyone owns it, no one owns it. You need names next to tasks. If you're a team of one, fine. Your name goes next to everything. But as you grow, delegation becomes mandatory, and you can't delegate chaos. You can't hand someone a vague job and expect great results. You hand them a process, a checklist, a clear outcome, and you coach them to success. That's how you multiply capacity. Now, let's talk about documentation. This is where most visionaries check out. It's not sexy, it's not fast, but it's necessary. You need SOPs, standard operating procedures. You need playbooks, you need dashboards, because people can't follow what doesn't exist. The more you systematize, the more freedom you create. Freedom from fire drills, freedom from bottlenecks, freedom from having to answer the same question 10 times. If something gets done more than once, it needs a documented process, and that process should live somewhere accessible. Notion, ClickUp, Google Drive, wherever. Just make sure it's findable, usable, and actually followed. Tracking matters too. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. You need KPI tied to each function and not vanity metric. Actual performance indicators that tell you if your systems are working. How many leads are we generating weekly? What's our sales conversion rate? How long does it take to onboard a new client? These numbers don't lie. They tell you where the breakdowns are. They help you coach your team. They show you what to optimize next. If you want to scale, data is not optional. It's your power source. Then comes rhythm. Your business needs cadence, weekly meetings, monthly strategy reviews, quarterly planning sessions. This isn't corporate fluff. It's how you keep everyone aligned. Without a rhythm, things drift, priorities blur, energy scatters. With a rhythm, you stay locked in. People know what's expected when it's due and how success is measured. It creates momentum, it creates stability, and when you bring new people into the business, they plug into that rhythm immediately. That's what scale looks like. And finally, operationalizing your dream means removing emotion from the process. It doesn't matter how passionate you are if you're disorganized. Passion burns out when it's not supported by structure. When you build systems, you create consistency, and consistency builds trust, internally and externally. Clients trust you more, your team trusts the process, and you trust yourself to deliver even when life gets messy. So yes, keep dreaming, dream big, but don't just dream, design, engineer, document, assign. Measure, review, repeat. That's how you go from vision to execution. That's how you build something sustainable, something that works even when you're not working, something you can scale without losing your mind. The empire is possible, but only when the dream becomes a machine and you are the one who builds it. One of the fastest ways to stall your growth is by hiring for the version of your business that exists today instead of the one you're building. When you make decisions based on where you are right now, you end up surrounding yourself with people who can only solve today's problems. That might feel good in the short term, it might even bring quick relief, but in the long term, it's expensive. Because the minute your business grows even a little, those people start struggling, they get overwhelmed, they can't keep up, and now you're back in the weeds doing damage control, trying to lead a team that was never built to scale. Hiring for scale means thinking like the CEO of the company you're trying to build, not the company you currently run. That requires vision. It requires discipline, and it requires a willingness to slow down and be strategic instead of reactive. Most people hire too late, they hire too fast, and they hire too cheap. That's a triple threat to your growth. If you want to go from scrappy startup to actual enterprise, your people strategy has to evolve. Start by asking yourself one question: what does the next level of this business actually require, not emotionally, operationally? What roles are missing? What skill sets will be essential? Where are you the bottleneck? Hiring for scale means identifying the areas of the business that will break as you grow and filling those gaps proactively. It's not about finding a generalist who can help out with a little bit of everything. That might work in the first 6 months, but it won't carry you to 7 or 8 figures. You need specialists, you need leaders, you need people who can build, not just execute, and let's talk about mindset, because skill alone isn't enough. A player with a fixed mindset, someone who's only comfortable when everything is stable, will not survive a scaling business. Things move fast, priorities shift, challenges hit hard and often. You need people who thrive in that environment. People who are coachable, adaptable, and hungry. People who solve problems without being hand-held. When you're interviewing, look for evidence of ownership. Ask about how they've built something before. Ask how they handle ambiguity. You're not just hiring a resume, you're hiring someone who will either carry weight or create it. Compensation matters too. If you want high-level talent, you have to be willing to invest. That doesn't mean you throw money around irresponsibly, but it does mean you stop looking for bargain hires. Cheap hires cost you more in time, in stress, in rework, and in lost opportunities. The right person will create more value than they cost. They'll speed things up. They'll free up your time. They'll help you move with confidence. That return is worth paying for if you do the work to find the right fit. Once they're in, your job as a leader is to onboard them properly. Scaling isn't just about who you hire, it's about how you set them up to win. Too many leaders hire someone and then immediately dump tasks on them with no context, no training, and no clarity. That's not leadership. That's desperation, and it never ends well. Hiring for scale means building onboarding systems. It means giving your new hires a roadmap, expectations, metrics, timelines, tools. You can't expect people to perform at a high level if you never tell them what high performance looks like. And here's the real shift. When you hire for scale, your team becomes your growth strategy. You're not just checking boxes, you're assembling the infrastructure for your future. That means hiring people who can lead teams, not just fill roles. People who think strategically, people who can run departments, make decisions, and challenge you with better ideas. The faster you can transition from doing everything yourself to leading leaders, the faster your business grows without your constant involvement. That's the goal, that's how empires are built, but none of this happens by accident. It's intentional. You sit down, you build the org chart for the company you want to run in 12-18 months. You define the roles, the outcomes, the culture. And then you go out and find people who match that vision. Not just people who can help you survive today, but people who can help you dominate tomorrow. So stop hiring for where you are. Start hiring for where you're going. Build your team like the future depends on it, because it does. Inspiration gets you started. Execution keeps you going. Everyone loves the energy of a new idea. The whiteboard sessions, the late night brainstorming, the rush of possibility. But ideas on their own are worthless. They don't make money. They don't solve problems. They don't build companies. Execution is what separates the dreamers from the builders. If you can't follow through, you don't scale. If you don't take action, you don't lead. It doesn't matter how excited you are on day 1. What matters is what you do on day 20, day 200, and day 2000. Most people stay stuck in the inspiration loop. They wait for the right moment, the perfect mood, the magical burst of motivation that'll make the hard work feel easy. But real leaders don't wait for the mood, they act in spite of it. Execution is about doing the work regardless of how you feel. And that discipline, that commitment to consistency, is what builds the empire, not passion, not potential, just daily, focused, intentional action. The truth is, most of what actually builds your business is boring. It's unsexy, it's repetitive, it's showing up to the same meeting every Monday, reviewing the same KPI, solving the same types of problems. It's writing the email, making the call, refining the process. Over and over, that's what scales, not fireworks, not hype, just operational excellence and relentless follow through. Inspiration fades, execution compounds. The first few times you post on social media, maybe you're pumped. You've got your Canva graphics, your caption is tight, and people are responding. Fast forward 30 days, engagement drops, results stall, and suddenly you're not feeling it. That's the test. That's where most people tap out. But the ones who keep going even when it's slow, even when no one's watching, they're the ones who break through because they understand the goal isn't to be inspired, the goal is to be effective. Execution is a mindset. It's not just about hustle, it's about alignment. You decide what matters, you make a plan, you follow it, you build systems that make execution easier, you stop chasing shiny objects and start doubling down on what works. And when something doesn't work, you don't give up, you iterate, you improve, you optimize. This is how results are created, not by hoping, not by manifesting, by doing. It also means making peace with the fact that no one is coming to save you. You don't need more advice. You don't need another podcast episode. You need to take what you already know and actually implement it. The gap between you and your goals isn't knowledge, it's execution. Most people know what to do, very few actually do it. So if you're not where you want to be, ask yourself, what am I avoiding? What have I been talking about instead of acting on? Accountability is everything. When you're serious about execution, you track what matters, you create deadlines, you review progress, you hold yourself and your team to a standard, not just when it's convenient, but always. If someone says they'll deliver something on Friday, you expect it on Friday. Not sometime next week, and not when they get around to it. Execution requires clear expectations and real consequences because when you let missed commitments slide, you're telling everyone, including yourself, that the goal doesn't actually matter. One of the most powerful shifts you can make as a leader is to fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. Anyone can be excited about the win, but the real performers, they get excited about the reps. The systems, the scorecards, they know that excellence isn't an act, it's a habit, and habits are built through execution, not emotion. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission. Get up, open your laptop, make the call, run the report, have the hard conversation, rework the system. The boring work is the work, and the people who get that are the ones who win every time. Execution beats inspiration every day of the week. Not because it's flashy, but because it works. And if you're building something that matters, something big, something that's meant to last, then you don't have the luxury of waiting until you feel ready. You just show up, you act, you lead, and eventually you don't just have a good idea. You have a real business, a strong team, a growing empire, and it all started with the decision to stop dreaming and start doing. Leading a business isn't about being the loudest voice in the room or the most charismatic person on the team. It's about being consistent, disciplined, focused. Leadership isn't a mood, it's a responsibility. If you're trying to scale a business, discipline isn't optional. It's the foundation, and once that discipline is in place, your culture becomes the multiplier. The way you lead sets the tone, and the culture you build determines how far and how fast your team can grow. Without discipline, your business won't move. Without culture, it won't last. Discipline starts with you. If you're disorganized, scattered, inconsistent, your team will be too. People follow what you do, not what you say. You can't demand high standards from your team if you're not living them yourself. Show up prepared, be on time, follow through, make decisions, have the hard conversations. The day you decided to build a business is the day you gave up the right to lead casually. You are the standard. If you want a disciplined team, you have to model what that looks like. Every single day, that means leading with structure. You need rhythms, processes, and performance systems that your team can rely on. Weekly meetings aren't optional. Scorecards aren't nice to have. These are non-negotiables. They create clarity, they drive accountability, and they reinforce that results matter. Discipline also means you don't lead based on how you feel. You lead based on what the business needs. You don't avoid performance conversations because they're uncomfortable. You have them respectfully and directly because they protect the mission. This is what real leadership looks like. But discipline alone isn't enough. If your team feels like they're working inside a machine with no purpose, no connection, and no humanity, they won't stay. That's where culture comes in. Culture isn't the snacks in the kitchen or the company retreat. It's the shared mindset of how we show up and what we expect from each other. It's the beliefs and behaviors that shape your team's daily experience. Culture is what scales your values beyond your personal presence. Strong culture is built intentionally. It starts with core values that actually mean something, not buzzwords, beliefs that guide decisions and behaviors. You don't need 10 values. You need 3 to 5 that you're willing to hire by, fire by, and coach by. And then you repeat them constantly in team meetings, in feedback, in interviews. Culture is created through repetition and reinforcement. If you're not constantly talking about it, it's not strong enough. You also have to protect the culture fiercely. That means you don't tolerate toxic behavior just because someone gets results. Culture isn't a perk, it's a performance strategy. The wrong hire can poison the entire environment. You have to be willing to remove brilliant jerks, even if they're delivering numbers, because what they cost you in trust, morale, and alignment is far greater than whatever they bring in. Forming teams are built on trust. And trust can't exist in a culture where behavior is excused just because someone produces. The magic happens when discipline and culture work together. Discipline builds the structure, culture breathes life into it. Together, they create a company that performs with excellence and retains great people. That's when scale becomes possible because you're no longer carrying the weight alone. You've built a team that executes without you micromanaging. You've created a place where people want to stay, grow, and contribute, and that only happens when expectations are clear and the environment is strong. If you're struggling to scale right now, look at these 2 areas first. Are you leading with discipline? Are your standards clear? Are you tracking the right metrics? Are you holding yourself and your team accountable? And then look at your culture. Do people feel safe to speak up? Are your values alive in how decisions are made? Do people feel proud to be part of your company? If the answer to any of those questions is no, you don't need more strategy. You need to lead better. Building an empire isn't about luck. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that how you lead matters, that who you hire matters, that how your team feels matters. Lead with discipline, scale with culture, and you won't just grow a business. You'll build something people want to be part of. Something that lasts, something you can be proud of.